Welcome to another episode of a Talking Point podcast brought to you by Thomas.A. Public Relations in partnership with Barbados Today. Season 2 is all about the business of entertainment. So Tracy, let's get to a talking point.
Welcome to A Talking Point, the show where we unpack Caribbean culture, creativity, and commerce. I'm your host, Tracy Fowler, and today we're asking, how do we take what we've built from Barbados' beloved crop over to our unique creative exports and turn it into a sustainable global product that lives online and earns all year round? My guest today is the perfect person to help us explore this. Jovan Reed is a Barbadian diplomat and policy analyst with over 15 years of international experience across Africa and the Caribbean. Currently based in Nairobi, Kenya, he has a deep interest in how communities adapt, stay connected, and assert cultural identity in changing times. Jovan, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Tracy. Happy to be here. Talk about crop over carnival culture and hopefully a bit of Kenya as well.
And is there anything that you want to share with us about Kenya?
I think business should come to Kenya. I think we are accustomed to seeing West Africa as a representation of Africa for obvious reasons, because historically we were told that we came from West Africa. But I think if you come to Kenya, especially if you are a Bayesian that went to Mona, or you're just familiar with Jamaica or some other Caribbean islands, you will see so many similarities between Kenya and Barbados, even the way people look. It's just useful to know, and I think this would demystify Kenya as a place that seems so far remote and foreign for our creatives. Once you actually come here and experience the culture, you can see that, is lateral more than anything else, right? It's a very exciting place. It's a big cosmopolitan city, and Caribbean people are really welcome here. Caribbean culture is really welcome here. So I think that is something that I would like to see. And it reminds me of Barbados back in the day when we had ZRs and minibuses that were painted and all. Because they copied that from the Caribbean, actually.
Wow.
That van culture, they copied that from the Caribbean. Of course, now all of our guys are in uniform and the buses are painted in one color and they got regulations. So this is like a throwback to how Barbados was back in the day. These ZRs blasting music and the artwork and this and that.
And they had names on them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's so many bits and pieces that are like a bit of Barbados past. But also because it's a developed city, it's like how you can see how Barbados future, let's imagine it that way. So I think it's a good place to come for Bajans. They also want to come to Barbados. So just the people exchange, that makes a lot of things easier in terms of even what we were talking about all today, cultural exports and, familiarization, right? So I think that's one thing I want to tell people, that is not, there's this idea of what to expect when you hear about Kenya or this region, but come and experience it. I think it would be a life-changing thing for most Bajans.
So you're based in Kenya, but deeply connected to the Caribbean. Of course, you're Barbadian. So why is it important for Barbados to think of crop over as an export and not just a local festival?
Because crop over is so unique, right? Crop over is not just like a carnival that happens just before Lent. Crop over has a story behind it. We were the first slave society, which is nothing to be too proud of, but it's a fact. It was an act of resistance, basically. After the sugarcane harvest, they got together and they started this festival. There's a story behind it that's more unique, and that's why I think we always say it's more than a carnival, It's sweet for days, all these kind of things that we say about crop over. Especially over here in Kenya, the culture is not one where people celebrate like Bajans, right? I think it's such a unique part of our identity. Crop over is so intertwined with how we are as people, as an outgrowth of who we are as people. How Bajans are very outgoing, how Bajans are, usually so happy, how Bajans tend to meet challenges, head on and deal with it. Like they celebrate as an act of resistance, really, right? We don't have a revolutionary history. We don't have a lot of protests. We don't have these kind of things that other countries have. But the way that we express resistance you know, is sure is a cultural thing, you know. Even crop over hard burning Mr. Harding. Rather than burn only city, you burn Mr. Harding, you know what I mean?
True.
So it's these kind of things that make Barbados unique, especially from my vantage point now, where I live. I see the differences and they see the differences as well. And it is a major thing that's attracting Kenyans now and East Africans to Barbados, just crop over itself. In fact, I know you might come to this much later, but I gotta tell you that Bajan troop is so popular in Kenya. It's like one of the most popular Bajan products in Kenya,
Yeah.
services if they want to call it that. Because for them it's so foreign. For us it's like normal, right?
Right.
And I think that aspect of our identity as a country, that cultural aspect, intangible as it is so defining and so important to promote Barbados overseas.
Wow. So are we taking for granted our story? Are we not realizing how special it is and how it fits into the overall global story then?
I think so, but you can only appreciate that once you leave, you know? And
Yeah.
appreciate it once you leave the places that don't have a Bajan diaspora, right? When you go to New York,
Mhm.
a million Bajans there. When you go to London, a million Bajans there. So you are not really experiencing how other people experiencing it as a other experience, right?
Yeah.
Once you come to the emerging markets, it's totally foreign. And the way that they receive it and react to it, then you realize, oh, crop over, Bajan culture itself is quite special, you know?
Yeah. And in Kenya, how do they consume Bajan culture? Like where they, I know you mentioned Bajan too, but are they actively going online looking for it? How are they coming upon it? How are they discovering it?
So in Kenya, reggae is really, when I came here first, reggae was really popular. And you know, reggae has its own story in resistance as well. And it
Yeah.
has a Pan African story. So reggae was here before soca, right? So in Kenya, I don't know if it coincides with us coming here. I don't know if it coincides with the exposure that Kenyans get to Bajans through through like Rihanna, although she's not soca artist,
Wow.
but
But yeah.
knowledge of Barbados as a country, as a place.
Mhm.
Our political leaders are very popular over here as well because of the same Pan African thrust that they have. So people get to learn about the Caribbean as more than Jamaica, as more than reggae, right?
Mhm.
I actually don't know how Bajan troop became popular, but Bajan troop is just viral all over the world. And
Right.
then people associate that now with the Caribbean, right? So in my 4 years here, they went from no Caribbean parties now to like 5 or 6 Caribbean parties over the annual calendar, and that has nothing to do with
Amazing.
the work of the mission. Is like Kenyans themselves, because it's not really Caribbean people making them. It's Kenyans themselves co-opting Caribbean culture and doing Caribbean parties over here, right? Calling it
Wow.
carnival, calling it this, calling it that, you know. So it's getting there. It's getting there. I think the future looks very bright for Caribbean culture in Kenya. And know that the embassy is here, of course, that we do activations for National Day. And obviously, BTMI supports that a lot. And culture, the music is intrinsic to that. So, whereas most people have National Day celebrations and they have ham and cheese and toast and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Barbados will have the Stilt Walkers, the Tap Band, you know, a live band, soca, all these kind of things that make Barbados Barbados.
Yeah.
And although National Day is a very formal celebration, as it always is, right? Even back home, people want to come to this thing as if it is a brand new experience for them because they've never experienced a culture like that, right? And I think that's something that makes us stand out over here and also makes us very proud. I think you can only appreciate, coming back to your original question, you can only appreciate what you have when you see how other people
Embrace
revere it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Well, this makes me take the discussion in a different, slightly different direction because I know you said earlier we're going to get to that, but you mentioned Beijing Tube, and there's so many um, profiles like that on Instagram that
Mm,
communicate Bajan culture. in that way, whether it's in fetes and people dancing or just seeing pretty people having a good time, how we express ourselves. Do you think that we in Barbados really take advantage of that kind of storytelling to give more of the story of crop over? Because that is just one aspect. So people are really embracing that particular aspect. I mean, to be frank, I was in the barbershop once and people were describing Barbados culture only based on that particular kind of content. But I was like, oh, but there's so much more to the story. And they were like, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, but crop over is this and it's that, and the history came from this and that. And they were like, we didn't know this. So I feel like there's so much more story to tell, and that's why I'm asking. Like, do you think we take advantage of that particular medium since people are really consuming stories that way?
So if you follow, there's a subsect of the internet for like everything, right?
Yeah.
So there's the cultural, there's the feminist Caribbean cultural analysis
Yeah.
of how we reduce crop over and carnivals to just flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a story behind everything. There's a story behind Juve. Juve is a cleansing, is a almost like a spiritual cleansing experience. We'll just see people walking up in mud and pain, but it's more than that.
Correct. Yeah.
As I mentioned at the opening, with Kaduman, there's a story behind that too. It's not just marching on the street in feathers. There's something that's being celebrated there. There was a period of hardship, working hard, and you're celebrating the end of that crop because it was something to mark, right? And I think even though we don't have like a big sugarcane crop season anymore, it's not that important as it was before. The fact of the matter is that we all going through issues. We all going as a country, we dealing with conflicting and concurrent issues, and crop over still is the climax. Where you say my crop over coming up, and I can forget all my problems for like a month or two. That is something that we don't really express, because I find even for me over here, where we do activations, it's easy for other people to call it a party, which really annoys me, because a party is a party, right? And they may say all these people do is party, which is not true.
Yeah, there's more to it.
There's more. So you have we don't tell this story enough about what crop over is. A lot of carnivals are just parties, but crop over I don't think is just a party at all. So we could take better advantage of that.
Yeah, agreed. I've learned recently that in Trinidad in particular, they really instill the story of carnival in the kids from primary school, from very, very early. So it becomes a part of something that they love and appreciate. And it's not just about the party. And I'm not sure what the syllabus is like at home now, because obviously I was born in 1982. And things are a little different right now, so I'm not sure what it's like. But I could also see that as part of the role in educating our youth and helping them to appreciate our story and our festival for what it is. So based on what you do and your role, what role do you see the Barbadian and the wider Caribbean diaspora playing in keeping crop over alive and turning it into a real business or real business opportunities?
Well, before I was here, I was in DC. It has a major Caribbean community. The diaspora there really, really, the Caribbean diaspora there really keeps the culture alive, as you might know. Even this week actually, which is my birthday week, the Hockey Festival. Thanks. There's the Hockey Festival. There's a Juve. There's a road march. There's this. There's that. At any point of the year, there's a Caribbean festival or Caribbean event happening in these areas. It's the diaspora that's pushing it. And Atlanta has a carnival. Even next week or 2 weeks from now is Rotterdam, right? Carnival. Wherever there's a diaspora, there's some kind of Caribbean element there. Caribbean carnival, Caribbean parties, right?
We just had Hollywood Carnival here in LA too.
Yeah, exactly. So The diaspora is key. Even over here, the diaspora is trying to create a Caribbean brand of events,
Mhm.
which obviously who can support that, right?
Yeah.
And diaspora here is even doing like Caribbean restaurants,
Oh, that's great.
aspects of the culture, and people are coming on to it. The
Mhm.
problem is, I think, I don't know what the reason is, but other people, as I told you before, most of the Caribbean events here are run by Kenyans. And even some
Right.
of the Caribbean restaurants here are run by Nigerians, right? So I don't know what the reticence is for the diaspora to actually own the Caribbean identity and create things that they can monetize
Yeah.
based on authentic Caribbean identity. Because there's a way a Nigerian is going to make Caribbean food that's not Caribbean. There's a way a
Of
Kenyan is going
course.
to do a carnival event that's really not an authentic Caribbean experience.
Yeah.
So it's just how do you, I don't know if it's incentivizing them or making them think it's worthwhile to
Mhm.
still carry the Caribbean flag over in these areas and the Asian flag in these areas
Yeah.
and create events, authentic events, right? And
Yeah.
experiences.
It's necessary. It is necessary. I mean, I feel it here when I'm here and I'm missing Bajan food. It
Mm-hmm.
is hard to find authentic Bajan food. I can find authentic Jamaican food for sure. I used to
Mm-hmm.
be able to find authentic Trinidadian food. Now I have a spot or two, but it's hard to find. I mean, I guess on the west coast of America,
Mm-hmm.
it is not very likely to find a major Bajan diaspora, but we know Caribbean people are all over the place. So as you were saying, it would be great for them to realize that there's business. There's a business in it, in their culture, in our culture,
Mm-hmm.
wherever they are in the world. All right. So Jovan, how have you in your role worked to support our creative to tap into markets? And you can use any recent example of a promotion you did in Kenya or any other activities recently.
All right. So as a team,
Mhm.
I focused on the mass activations and tourism promotion, which obviously will include all kind of cultural elements. But there's a cultural consultant here who works very closely with NCF and these other agencies. So we recently brought up Winston Farrell, who did a number of I don't want to call them activations per se, but he met with the young people in a range of universities, and he had a show in the Alliance Francaise that was really, really well received by Kenyans. For us, we try our best to get any kind of artists that we could bring up here, any kind of, for sure, we play the music 100% whenever we can.
Fantastic.
We bought out a venue and it was 100% Bajan soca. And we did not have a Bajan DJ at the time, but the Kenyan DJs really put up and they played 100% Bajan music. The transitions were well, everything was good. And
That's
although
amazing.
people did not know the words or what anything meant, but just the rhythm and everything,
Right.
it was amazing. So one thing the consultant is working on now is getting a collaboration with one of the biggest Kenyan artists over here with an artist in Barbados. So that's in the pipeline. But although it's an emerging market, we see an appetite for Caribbean culture and anything that we could do. There's even a book fair coming up next week. Two book fairs this year. We are reaching out to Asian authors to come up. So, in all aspects of culture, not only in music, we're trying to get Asians exposure.
Wow. I love that. That is actually really exciting. That is very
Hmm.
exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
I I was going to ask if there is like enough information, if people know that this is happening, that where they can plug in to connect to be a part of what is happening in Kenya,
Yeah, I mean, over here or back home?
back home.
Back home, we tend to go like we wouldn't send out a press release to to GIS. We would just if it's like for authors, we would go direct to where we know all the authors are,
Of
and a
course.
lot of things can be brokered through the agencies that we have existing. So you could ask BTMI and they would help. You could ask NCF
Mhm.
and they would help. But I think it's worth telling the story regardless, even if it's to the mass market saying, well, this happened, these
Yeah.
pages came up, this was well received, because I think maybe people don't understand that actually this work is going on
Yes.
and this work is well received. So that's actually a good point.
And to know the opportunities just exist so they can
Yeah,
actually look for it and think about it. I think that's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
So we have so much original music, costumes, experiences.
Mhm.
And as you know, creatives are listening to this, people who want to grow their creative product, whether within crop over or year round within the entertainment industry. And you mentioned all these wonderful opportunities in Kenya for the creatives, whether you're an author or a musician or a producer.
Mhm.
How can you be ready? Like, what are the requirements? Um, what is the criteria, really and truly, for you to be accepted to get a chance to experience one of these opportunities to be a part of what's happening in Kenya?
I think just be a bitch and I'd be willing to travel to Kenya, because
Wow, that's all?
that's all. Because Vincent Farrell wasn't really known in Kenya at all, really, and he came and he was well received. He's a poet with a story. He's a literary artist with a story. And people came to hear that story, right? And he's very talented. He's very skilled. They actually look to him as somebody who could teach them things that they don't know, right?
Mm.
And I don't mean in terms of literary stuff because they're brilliant authors over here, but I just mean how to infuse your stories with your lived experiences, as Mr. Farrell does, right? And when it comes to music, again, how well you may not know how East African music sounds because it's not as exportable as West African music,
Right. Okay.
but there are a lot of opportunities because there's soca songs here that do really well. For us, they're super old, and they don't know their Bajan songs. Like even today, I was hearing Alison Haynes and Peter Ram. They had a song way back when.
God.
I'm sure you can't really remember the name of
Which
it.
one is that?
Even me, I can't remember the name, but it's
Oh,
Alison Haynes song.
it's
Then
gonna
there's
come up at the
Alison,
bottom of the screen.
yeah. Then there's Alison Haynes and Richie Spice, and there's Rupee
Yes, I
Tempted to
know that
Touch.
one.
It's all these songs, right, that do
Mhm.
really well over here. People sing every word. They don't know it's a Bajan song. They don't know it's even something called soca, but it does really well. So I would say, like, I know we're moving more towards groovy anyway. I think any groovy artist would do really well in Kenya. We don't have a lot of power soca anymore.
Yes.
And I think that may be harder to sell because people over here don't really do the high BPMs. But the
Okay.
groovy is for sure a big thing. And
Yeah.
even I've been saying these Afro beats back home in Barbados anyway, and we don't understand what the people are saying. But it's just because of the beat and the voice, we like the sounds. You
Yeah.
know? Um Groovy is very exportable here. When we play it at the events, Bayesian is like it's a foreign language. I just saying things phonetically, but I don't know what the person is saying. It don't matter.
Is there a chance for, because I used to run an artist development company,
Mm.
and one thing that was important was the um, doing things regularly to build that fan base, and exposing yourself regularly to a particular target group to build that fan base. Is there a chance for an artist to visit not only once but come back again, and making sure that they're plugging in all the time and being able to, press the flesh and really connect with people, um, more than once? Yes, definitely more than once, maybe at least 5, 6 times to just build their fan base in Kenya. Does that opportunity exist?
The opportunity exists, but I think that we could go further than that. I would really like if we had a central, I don't know, I don't want to call it a website, but I would like if we had a central space because yesterday we did a radio interview
Okay.
and they were looking for a Bajan music to play during our segment, but they couldn't find any, right, in the radio station system.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wish we could point people to a resource where they could see, you see, like the sweet limes and everything that happened.
Yes.
If I know in Barbados, I can't see it. I can't see it online. You know what I mean?
I do.
Or, the things that we produce are, we can only enjoy them once you're at crop over.
Yeah.
So when I'm here and I don't go home for summer, I go to depend on my friends posting from Mimosa, from Bliss, from whatever. But I can't really see anything apart from Beijing Troop. I can't see,
Between
Beijing
Beijing
Troop
Tube
is
and
already,
Bazodi, like we have
yeah, yeah,
something
and
is
it's not really
building, but we
focused,
need
and that's
more.
already focused on the music per se. It's focused on the people at the party. So I
Correct.
wish we had like a resource that we could show. And a couple of is for me, our culture is not just crop over. We have events year round. I wish that we had a resource that could show everything that happens in Barbados around the year, across the year, right? The performances, the other festivals. I think that would do really well because people really want to understand what Barbados is.
Yeah.
So when we had a visit from BTMI a few weeks ago, the hits from this part of the world, because you could tell when people search for Barbados or what they're searching on or everything else. And we did a media analysis afterwards, and we had like 50 million Kenya shillings worth in PR and advertising value across media, across print media, TV, and radio, because everybody was talking about Barbados. But we did not have like a central resource to tell them, listen, this is where you can see these other things. Of course, I know how to get to Barbados. Of course, I know what the heritage sites are and everything else. But the cultural part is where we don't have a dedicated resource to show them, this is what Barbados is.
Yeah.
This is who we are, as we say back home.
Yeah. I like what you said about the resource. It is absolutely needed and there is space for it. In terms of year round, I think about what's on Barbados, but I actually don't know how often it is updated or refreshed,
Not
but
very.
there's definitely a lane for it for sure. If anyone wants to jump on that.
I think somebody could easily do, not easily, but it takes money, right? And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It takes money and it takes time and it takes like people that are invested in the cause. Because any new venture, you're not going to make money right away. You got to accept you can make a loss. But I think there's a space for somebody to do a really creative, like a issue, the issue platform.
Oh
You
yeah.
could do you could do a magazine, call it something,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and it's online available to everybody. And it could be multimedia, right? So you got print, you got the story, you got page where it's just a video. I'm telling you, eventually that could be monetized. It just got to prove the concept. Because if you want to know where to go in Barbados, it's ins and out.
Yes.
And that's printed online as well. And everybody wants ins and outs of Barbados. Even I brought up some to pass out in Kenya, right? That's a resource.
I
If
love
we
those
had like
magazines.
if we had like an ins and out Barbados culture now, imagine that there's a gap for that. Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope you're listening to Jovan. Someone needs to pick up on that one. Okay, continuing on, we're gonna tap into about what it takes to build a sustainable future and looking at examples like Trinidad Carnival, which has been successful as a cultural export. What key lessons in your mind or strategies can Barbados and other Caribbean nations adapt to formalize and grow sustainably?
So I think if you look at Trinidad Carnival, they have some signature events that are replicated all over the world, like Soca Brainwash. That's Trinidad Carnival there. Beach shows, so we got beach shows in Barbados. That's a Trinidad thing as well, right? I think licensing these events or signature events, right? The few that we have overseas, which could happen because crop over is in July, August,
Yeah.
but nothing is stopping you from having a mimosa somewhere else before crop over itself starts. So that way you make crop over and Bayesian culture, Bayesian events, your own thing. So license these events overseas. So if you use the example of pastels, Caribbean vibes, the event that happens here now, the biggest Caribbean event here, which is run by Kenyans, called Caribbean Branch, was inspired by pastels, right? So they started off using the videos from Caribbean Vibes Instagram on the license, I imagine, right?
Right.
To promote their Caribbean branch, right? So that's an example, although indirectly it's not really licensed to them to put on a pastels in Kenya, but the pastels product that was produced in Barbados, they use
Right.
it to create a vibe for their own version called the Caribbean branch in Kenya. So licensing or unique events, licensing or proposal events, even licensing people to put on a 4-day morning, right? In some other country. Once is linked to Barbados. And these are things that are unique to us. 4-day morning, right? That's not Jupiter. Get me?
Yeah.
We don't do apple pot anymore. But these kind of things that we have that are unique to crop over, unique to Barbados, I think that's how you build sustainability. You build a demand for Barbados, a demand for Barbados culture, and is sustainable because you go into these source markets and the emerging markets, licensing these Barbados cultural exports, and it creates now a self-sustaining cycle. You get me?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's the way to we always talk about Calypsonians or the new bashment soca people focusing only on Barbados and being insular in what they do. So let's take them out. Let's license the products outside, the cultural products outside, and I think it would do really well. I think for me, I think chutney is very Trinidadian, you know, but because of how they have managed to export their carnival products overseas, people like chutney.
Yeah.
They're not from that background, they're not from that heritage. But the point of the matter is, because they have taken it overseas and licensed their products, that's how it goes. And I think that's how Beijing's gonna look at it as well.
Can you speak to how easy or hard it is, or like the process behind licensing that event or product? Just wondering for the person listening, thinking, well, how do I license my product? Who do I speak to? Is it an organization that I have to go through? What kind of paperwork do I have to sign?
The onus on the paperwork is on whoever you partner with.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always in any place you go, you're gonna find who the good event producers are.
Right.
Just look at a previous successful event, ask who produced this event. I can tell you right now, if somebody came to me and said, I want to bring, I don't want to call a particular name, but if I want to bring my event, my brand, my party to this part of the world, I could link you with at least 5 event producers over here.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I guarantee they can produce to the level that you produce in Barbados, right? And then you could get into the question of how the money is split or the profit split, but it's not that difficult, especially when you have Beijing's or embassy in the market. I think that's one of the things that we are supposed to be doing anyway, right? Linking you
Yeah.
to a potential partner that can execute for you over here.
That's fantastic. So, if you could impart one crucial lesson to creatives right now, what would be key to evolving Caribbean entertainment and media into a truly sustainable global industry? Like, what is that one thing you would tell them? Make sure you do X.
I think one of the problems that we have, and I kind of have it as well, I think is a human thing, not thinking that what you have is special. One of my friends is Shakira Bourne, who writes on Beijing stories, The Heart Mind.
Yes.
These kind of things are very, very, some people think they're colloquial, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's only, if you grew up in Barbados, you understand what this is. Shakira has managed to write about these things. She signed on to a massive publishing house, and the books do, I think, better overseas than they do in Barbados,
Yes, it's
right?
true.
And I think people don't believe that if they if they stay authentically Beijing, that they're going to do well overseas, and that's a myth that we gotta shatter. I think imagine that it's possible that people would think that your cultural products and your identity is fascinating to them
Yeah.
because it is, but you may not believe it is because it's your lived reality every day. But for somebody else, it's brand new and novel and exciting. And I think that's something, once you get past that concept that, well, Barbados is just this small island and nothing go beyond this 166 square miles. Once you get past that concept and imagine that there's a market out there, because there is, otherwise we wouldn't be out in these other countries,
Yeah.
Once you believe that and get past that hurdle, I think you will find a lot of success.
Jovan, I think you're really encouraging some people right now, because the truth is, where we are geographically can really impact how you think and how you see things and how you see the world. Even just for a moment, you're like, yes, I can definitely do this. I can reach beyond these shores and do X, Y, Z very quickly. That a sense of discouragement sets back in, and you're like, so hard. I don't even know where to begin. And it does make a difference when you leave these shores and realize my culture is absolutely special. I'm seeing it here in LA, when people respond to me, as soon as I say I'm from Barbados, they're curious. They want to know more. They want story. They want to understand culture more. They want to hear my music, and it's all these questions. And it has revived me. It's revived even my love for home. It's revived my love for my culture. It's a really special thing. And so I know how hard it is to be home. I know that you have something good, but at the same time feeling like you're not really sure what to do or where to take it. So I'm glad that you're saying what you're saying, because I think people need to hear it, and they need to hear that these opportunities exist and that they can just try. You just never know what can happen. So in your mind, what are the next critical steps from a collaborative standpoint that need to be taken to fully transform Cropover and the Caribbean into a resilient, global, recognized export industry? Big question, Jovan.
But I think we touched on it in different aspects of this interview, right? I
We
think one
did
is that
little bits as we continued on.
yeah. I think one is definitely that resource that we spoke about.
So we got resource. Mm-hmm.
I think Bajan culture is something that we carry in ourselves, in our hearts as Bajans. But I think, you know, we have to find a way to let other people know what Bajan culture is and
Yes.
experience it before they come to Barbados.
Yeah.
Because even that experiencing will get them to come to Barbados. Get me? How do I know about St. Patrick's Day and these kind of things? Not because I went to Ireland. I went somewhere and people were doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I ended up going. And these the New Orleans, what's that
Beads
celebration?
that they wear in the French
Yeah,
Quarter, Mardi
yeah,
Gras.
yeah. Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
Never went to New Orleans, but I know what Mardi Gras is. There's tons of Mardi Gras parties and these kind of things.
We even had one at
So
Boatyard back in the day,
I went to that one.
right?
So I'm saying like the licensing part, or at least not about licensing part, like diaspora start doing some events in these other markets, right? But licensing, that's part of it. Licensing or establish events overseas, that cultural resource online, collaborations with other artists, or just our own artists coming and using the existing diaspora networks or the embassy networks to come and, perform. You're not going to sell the stadium. We are coming to perform at an existing event.
Yeah.
Tack on to BTMI activation overseas. These are the kind of things that would build the appetite for Barbados.
Many creatives are listening and they're wondering how they can tap into these markets. How can I expose my product, my work? How can I tap into the market on the East Coast of the US? How can I tap into the market in Kenya, in Europe? What is the best way to go about this?
I think looking at promoters, it's going to be easy to find promoters in DC and the established markets because there's a big Caribbean diaspora, right? But in this market, for creatives in general, and I will just go one by one, like artists, for example. As I mentioned, there's a growing Caribbean constituency of events over here, and one thing they lack is the authenticity of a Caribbean experience. So any Caribbean artist that want to come and promote, come and perform, there's a wide open opportunity for them to do that, right? There's in literary arts. There are so many book festivals, literary festivals. One of my good friends, she's called Ayana Gillian Lloyd. She's a Trinidadian author. She's headlining the Nairobi Literary Fest in a week from now. All right.
Nice.
And she's from Trinidad. And her book is called When We Were Birds. And it's based very much on the Trinidadian experience. Yet she's coming here. And I mentioned Winston Fowler as well, right?
Yeah.
So there are 4 here for international creatives. And as I mentioned previously, it's just for you to think or get past it thinking that this is not going to do well because it's so focused on my lived reality in Barbados or the Caribbean, right? Because people actually want to hear that. People actually want to consume that creative product. So the avenues are there. It's not difficult.
And whether you are an artist or an author, writer, as in writer of music, should you prepare like a bio, pieces of your work, maybe a video explaining, hi, my name is so and so, and I would love to be a part of yada, yada, yada. Like, what would improve that person's chances of a person like you going, yes, we need this person to come to Kenya. Plus, the work is good.
Man, even just an Instagram profile nowadays is enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because by that you could see reels, your performances, your readings, your whatever.
Right.
It's not really, it's not as difficult as people think it is.
And there you have it, folks. That's some great information. It's as easy as that, right, Jovan? It's as easy as that.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing that it is not some big mountain you have to climb, and that is not all of this red tape that you have to get through. Because I think that's what a lot of creatives think. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. You know, this is going to be hard because of the kind of organization that it is. But it's really good to hear this news, and I'm sure that you will have, I don't know, a huge an inbox filled with information very soon, filled with some people saying, "Send me to Kenya," because that sounds really exciting. I'd love to hear what is happening, and yeah. Thank you so much. And if you could wave a magic wand, we've asked this particular question to a couple of our guests. If you can wave a magic wand, fast forward 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, how do you imagine Crop Over in your most ideal picture in your head?
Crop Over. I would like to see Crop Over. I would like to see when you say Crop Over, everybody just knows, oh, that's Barbados. That's Barbados Festival. You know? It's not that you go explain, oh, this is the story of Crop Over. Everybody knows where it is. Yeah. Right?
So we've heard Jovan's wish for Crop Over in the long term. We heard about the resource. We heard about storytelling digitally. We heard about licensing events, which is fantastic. And also just using the embassies, like using the contacts that we have and tapping into markets where embassies are. So that was a very, very insightful conversation with Jovan Reed. His perspective truly highlights that exporting our culture is not just about entertainment, but it's about being strategic, something that we've heard all throughout this season, and also empowering our creative economy on a global scale. And we've explored how digital platforms and our powerful diaspora can be pivotal in this journey. It's clear that to move from Bacchanal to a sustainable global brand requires a holistic and integrated approach. So thank you, Jovan, for sharing your invaluable insights with us today. And remember, everyone, our culture is rich, our stories are powerful, and together we can take them global and keep this conversation alive. And that's a wrap on the show, and that was our final episode in this series. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took notes. Creatives, I see you. I hope that you're planning for your future as well. Reach out to some of our guests and ask questions and turn your creative work into something profitable. Be sure to follow Barbados Today on Instagram and Thomas.APR. Visit thomasapr.com and follow the hashtag A Talking Point Podcast.
Thanks, Tracy. This episode of A Talking Point Podcast was brought to you by Thomas.A Public Relations in partnership with Barbados Today. Until next time, this has been A Talking Point Podcast.